Okay, this video picks up on the first video where we went ahead and we created a 4-inch circle, and then we went ahead and set up some tooling for that. We used a quarter-inch bit to create tooling for that, and then we walked through how to set up your speed and feed, how to set up your tabs, and how to make that cut. So what we're going to do now in this particular video is I'm going to take you through the next steps so that you can end up creating embossed lettering here. That is raised, I should say raised lettering, not embossed lettering. And we're going to go ahead and set this up, and then we're going to pocket out all the area around of making those letters stand up and creating a nice edge. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Okay, so I opened up the file where I have a 4-inch diameter circle, and I can go ahead and actually dimension that. So I'll grab my dimension tool, and I'll come over here, and I just want to go ahead and grab, let's just say we'll grab a length dimension, and we'll go from the top of the part down to the bottom and select that, bring it over and drop it. You can see that is a 4-inch diameter circle. So with that set up and that in place, that's good. I'll slide down here and close out of my dimensions. So now I got to go ahead and get some text put in here. So I'll come over here to the big T. This is my text tool, and I'll go ahead and select the text tool. I'll come over here, and I'm just going to start typing my text up here in the box, and I'll reposition it as need be. So up here at the top, I'll just type in my initials, because knowing that I'm going to emboss this or engrave this out, I know that I'm not going to be able to get a whole lot of text in here. Also knowing I need to cut this with a 0.125 bit, I got to make sure the bit fits through here. Okay, so a few things to manage. So I'll hit close on the text. I'm going to go ahead and select the text, and then I get this move tool and modify tool pop up around on my text. So I just click and hold the left mouse, drag my mouse to get it to where I want it to go. I can zoom in on things. Again, press in with the roller ball, move the mouse to move things around, zoom in and out with the roller ball. If I want to move the text, wait till that cursor turns into that move tool. Once it turns into the move tool, I can then go ahead and move things around and place it where I'd like it to go. So what I can do here is I can look at this and say I can probably fit a 0.125 bit through here, but in no way it's going through here. And let's go ahead and we'll just measure that to make sure that that's the case. So I grab my dimension tool, zoom in, find a point that it's going to lock to. There's a point that pops up, and come over this way. There's a point, click, and come on down and click again. 0.1673. I'll get a bit through there without a problem. All right, 0.125 fits. So hit close on that, select that, don't need this anymore. Looking at this, there's no way that's happening. So let's spread out these letters a little bit. So we can do that. Select the text, and then come over here and we're going to use this tool. This is called Edit Text Spacing and Curve. So we're going to select that, move the mouse in between the letters where I want it to go. Now, if I wanted to move them away, you have to hold down the Shift key and then click. Hold down the Shift key and then click. If you want to move them together, just click. Shift and click moves them away. All right. So given it that we're set to, I can hit escape, get out of that command. Then I can come over here, grab that dimension tool, slide on over, zoom in, and again, I can go from point to point. And let's see, do I have 0.125? I do, so I can get a bit through there also. So we'll come down over here, close out of that dimensioning tool, select my dimension and delete. So now I'm ready to go ahead and start to set up the inside circle here for my edge. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and use this offset tool down here at the bottom of the screen. Select it. We're going to come up, and with the offset vectors, you can actually go outside, inside, or both at the same time. I'm just going to use the inward vector offset tool. My distance will be 0.25, so it's already here, so I don't have to type anything in. And then I'm going to select the geometry that I want to offset, hit the button for offset, and then it drops it inside there. So I'm finished that now. I can go ahead and hit close. Now I think I'm ready to go ahead and start the pocket operation, because a pocket is going to cut out all this information or all this material inside here, not getting the letters or this edge. So what I'll do is just click off of anything that's highlighted here, come over to my tool operations here, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the pocket toolpath. So once I do that, I'm going to come over and I'm going to go ahead and select this inside circle. Then I'm going to hold down the Shift key and then click on the text. That's going to then select all this area inside here to pocket out. Now I need to come over here and I'm going to start working my way down through this dialog box. So first is my start depth, that's 0, 0, top of my part. Then we're going to come down here to cut depth. So I want this to go down a 1/16 of an inch. And I only want it to go in a 1/16 of an inch because I only want it to have to make one pass. The bit that I'm going to use is an 1/8 inch. It's going to be a 0.125, and then we only ever cut half the diameter of the bit per pass. So I really don't want to have to make two passes. So I'm going to go down a 1/16 of an inch. As I continue to move down here, the tool that I'm selecting is an end mill. This is a 0.125 inch. And I want to go in and start editing some of the information in here for the cut and talk about why we're doing this still and what's going on. So here the diameter is 0.125. Pass depth is at 0.125 also. Well, I'm going to then shorten this out. I do not want my pass depth to be the same diameter. I want it to be half the diameter. So it's going to be 0.0625. And actually get rid of that double point there. So 0.0625. Then the step over, we're going to leave all this the same, 40%. And then we're going to come down and set that spindle speed at 13,000 RPMs. And then we're going to set up our feed rate. Now, I'm going to go ahead and reference these charts again and to go through that feed rate again, just so we can see it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up that Onsrid chart. So I've got the Onsrid chart here for solid surface cutting data. These are recommendations. So we're going to slide down on the chip load calculator here. It's already on the chip load chart. And I'm looking at that 1/8 inch size bit. So I'm going to slide down this column. And I'm looking at the 6500 series. This is a solid carbide 2-flute upcut bit. So we're going to come across here. And I'm looking at this chip load. So we're looking at 0.006 to 0.008. And then these are the formulas that we will utilize to calculate the chip load. So we'll go ahead and I'll just pull up this calculator so we can see this a little easier as we work through this. And you just want to plug the information in. So I want to find out my feed rate in inches per minute. So we're going to take the RPM, we're going to put that in. So we're going to type that in, 13,000. And then that's going to be times the number of cutting edges. Well, I know there's 2 flutes, so that's going to be times 2. And then the chip load is then in here also. So we're going to then say times, and this is going to be 0.006 or 0.008 or anything in between. So if I were to put in, let's just say 0.007 and hit enter, there's a chip or there's a feed rate in inches per minute of 182. So that 182 is pretty well right there in the middle of that chip load, the high and low range. So we know we're going to be a pretty safe range to do this. So I'm going to go back to VCarve and I'm just going to put in 180. I know that's right there in the middle. So we're going to jump back into VCarve. And there it is. And you can see the feed rate has already been set to 180. And this is inches per minute. All right. Now, this can be changed to inches per second. Everything we do is in imperial inches. So don't mess around with millimeters or anything to the like. So here we go. We're ready to continue forward. Plunge rate is 30. And tools 1 because we only have a single tool. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. So with that set up, we can continue to move down through the dialog. We're not using any larger tool for clearance. So you can use a larger tool to clear out big areas, change tools, and then a smaller. We're not doing anything there. We're going to keep this right here on climb for the offset, for the pocket. And then we're going to keep sliding down here. We're ramping, so ramp plunge moves. We can go ahead and ramp this in. And I'll set my ramp up at a short ramp at 0.5 so that it's cutting forward as it goes down. Then we're going to keep coming down, and I've already selected my vectors, so we have that. So I can go ahead and hit calculate, and now you can see these are the tool paths where the bit's going to run. Really can't see what it's going to do until we actually play the tool path, and then you can see the tool path play, and you get a good idea of what that's going to look like. So we can go back here and actually reset the entire image, and we can click back on profile 1, and we'll run that. You can see the cut. We'll jump back here to pocket, and we'll go ahead and run that profile, and we can see that. Now, bit issue here when we're going to doing this is you always want to have everything cut from the inside out. So I would really want to do this pocket first, then I'd want to go ahead and cut the part out. I wouldn't want to cut the part out and then pocket it because it's being held by tabs. There's a very small amount of material holding it. Thing could break and come flying off the table. So always inside to out when you cut. So my recommendation is to then come over here, click on that pocket, hold it down, drag the mouse up, and let it go. So that pocket's first, then the profile. Second recommendation I'm going to make and tell you is to save a tool change in the process of the manufacturing here of this part. We're going to then go back into this profile 1 and change the tool to a 0.25. If I run this pocket at a 0.125, there's no reason why this profile here can't be cut out at a 0.125. So we're going to go in and we're going to hit select, and we're going to go back in and we're going to change this to an end mill at 0.125. This pass depth, we'll set that up at 0.0625 because that's got to be set because we're only cutting down half the diameter of the bit. We'll set this RPMs, 13,000, and then this feed rate is going to be that 180. All right. Plunge rate, we can then take to 30 also. So we'll hit OK there. I'm going to then check to see, make sure that held in my edits, which it did. Hit OK. We're going to keep this machine vector. We're going to run to the outside of my part, so it's going to run around this way. We'll keep that climb as my direction of cut. A separate last pass is where it's going to clean up the edges, okay? If you can see very, very closely here, you can see sort of some indication of some edge milling stuff here, some cutting edge quality. We're going to go ahead and set up a separate last pass. Now, the reason we're going to do this is it's going to cut the entire part out except for the last pass at a complete distance away from the part. And we're going to go ahead and set that up at 0.02. So it's going to cut 0.02 away from the part until the last pass, in which case it will cut full depth, last pass, smoothing out the edge of the part. So that's going to help with edge quality. We'll go ahead and keep the tabs exactly the way they are, and then we'll slide down here and hit calculate. So that has recalculated this cut, has not gotten any closer to the part. Let's go ahead and hit the reset preview, and we'll go ahead and first we'll run our pocket. There's our pocket cut. Then we'll go to our profile and we'll play that profile cut. And you can see that that is a smaller size cut going through there. And you can barely see it, but just inside that groove here, there's a small lip that'll show up right here at the bottom. That's where that separate last pass edge is visible. But we'll see this when we actually start to cut, and we can start looking at the quality of the object. So let's go ahead and set this up so we can export this and then take this over to Shopbot. So we're going to go ahead and close out of the tooling operation there. I'm going to go ahead and select both of these operations, the pocket and the profile, and then we're going to come up here to Save Toolpath. So we click on Save Toolpath, and right now I only see the profile, so I want to hit Toolpath or output all visible toolpaths to one file. Hit that. Now we have both toolpaths. We've got to make sure we have everything we need here. Then we're going to come down here and find our post processor. Now we're looking for the Shopbot post processor. VCarve has got a ton of posts in here, and so I'm looking for Shopbot. We do not have a tool changer, but it looks like the only Shopbot that I see in there is the one without a tool or with a tool changer. So I'm just going to click on the Shopbot TC Inch, and we're going to go ahead and run that same tool. I know that the machine is going to go ahead and run that. Go ahead and hit Save Toolpath, and I'm going to save this thing. Well, I would save it to the TechEd server, but I'm actually on my laptop, so I'm just going to save this to my desktop, and then I will be ready to cut. All right. So that's been saved out, and now I'm ready to go over and preview this on the control software for the machine and go ahead and set up and start our cut.